Hey guys, welcome to the 2004 edition of the Ring of Honor short DVD reviews. Now, I know a lot of people were saying, who gives a fuck about 2003 and 2004? I mean, because so many years have passed since then. But the thing, I mean, a lot of people. However, there are a lot of people out there that are interested in Ring of Honor's back catalog and want to know what shows and matches were memorable, and this is just a way of just giving some recommendations. So definitely just enjoy it for what it's worth. Let me get right down to it because I only have 11 minutes to get all this done in. The first show is actually Battle Lines Are Drawn. It's a very good show. It's a pretty good start for Ring of Honor. Usually they don't get off to a very good start. Um, One of the biggest matches from the show was actually AJ Styles versus Homicide. They promoted this heavily at the time, and it was a pretty good match. It wasn't great considering that Homicide was the MVP from 2003, and AJ Styles was probably the runner-up in 2003. So we had the top two wrestlers in the company actually facing each other in a nice, solid mid-card match. But, it's just not like a match of the year type of candidate. Homicide did his Tope Con Hilo to AJ, and he went over the guardrail, and everyone thought he really hurt himself. And AJ looked like he got a concussion, but they were okay. This is a pretty solid match, just not like a match of the year candidate. Other highlights from the show: Alex Shelley and Matt Styker had a pretty good match. This is when Alex Shelley was starting to break out into like a singles wrestler. We could see the Briscoes actually faced Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson. Joe was actually on a quest to win the tag team titles because he was in a feud with the Briscoes at the time. So Danielson made a rare appearance here. The actual match wasn't as good as you would expect, though. The highlight of the show is the main event, the Prophecy, Daniels, Maff, and Whitmer versus the Second City Saints of CM Punk, Colt Cabana, and Ace Steel. This feud actually started because the Prophecy took out CM Punk's girlfriend back in Dayton in 2003. So this is like a blood feud. It was a great fight, a great brawl. Uh, Punk actually did a Pepsi plunge to Daniels through a table after the match was over. So this is what officially sent Daniels packing. He didn't make another appearance in Ring of Honor for a while. A lot of it had to do with the TNA obligations, but there's actually more to it than that, I believe. So, but yeah, this is a very good brawl. A lot of people think this is one of the best matches in Ring of Honor history. Some do. Some don't think it's that great. The aftermath is really memorable though, because the Second City Saints just dissected the Prophecy, and that's why it's called Battle Lines Are Drawn. It was like this match is kind of like a war. The next show is The Last Stand. This is one of the least talked about Ring of Honor shows ever. However, it's a pretty good show though. The production values are kind of dark. Uh, some of the highlights are John Walters and Chad Collyer. Two mid-card technical wrestlers had a pretty decent match. A lot of people are high on that. Colt Cabana had a Good Times Great Memory segment in the ring with Dunn and Marcos, their ring crew. That was very hilarious. Colt Cabana was really funny at this time as a heel. I thought he was great. Um, Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs had a match. A lot of people are high on that. Some people say it was the best match ROH ever had in Maryland. I think it's kind of overrated though, but it was a good showcase match for Alex and Jimmy Jacobs to have. Homicide and CM Punk had another very solid match. Not as good as their other match that they had in 2003, but still pretty good. Main event is kind of disappointing. The Briscoes versus Samoa Joe and Jerry Lynn. The ending kind of sucked. Jim Cornette got involved, and this is kind of Samoa Joe's last chance to win the ROH World Tag Team titles, and he didn't come through. Jerry Lynn didn't look that good here. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty decent show, but it's not worth spending a lot of money to hunt down on eBay. It's been out of stock since I believe 2004, 2005, so it's pretty rare to find. Next show is the second anniversary show. A very, very solid show. This is where they had the Pure Wrestling title tournament. I thought it was a very good tournament. A lot of people have mixed feelings about it. I thought CM Punk's matches were awesome. All three of his matches were very good. His first match against John Walters was good. The second match against Doug Williams had a lot of great counters, a lot of great psychology, a lot of great pinning predicaments. The Pure Wrestling rules, they talk about the rope break rule. There's rope breaks. You only get 3 rope breaks in the match. And I think there's a 20 count on the outside. So the rules are different. It was definitely a secondary title that ROH needed at the time, and it lasted about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. However, on the flip side, a lot of people were disappointed in AJ Styles' performance throughout the show. He was kind of like selling a knee injury or a leg injury. And then in some of his other matches, like halfway through the match, he would just forget to sell it, and he'd become like Super AJ Styles. Kind of like people criticized John Cena back at WrestleMania 23 for doing it. So a lot of people bitch about the AJ no selling spots. And the finals was pretty good, though. It was AJ versus CM Punk in the finals. I thought that was a very good match. And it set up their next match perfectly. So definitely check out the Pure Wrestling title tournament. It was very good. The other highlight from the show is ROH World title match. It was Samoa Joe versus Low-Ki versus Dan Maff versus BJ Whitmer. It was a good match. You know, the selling point of this match was just to see Joe and Low-Ki mix it up again. Because for whatever reason, a Joe Low-Ki match never took place. Political reasoning is probably because of Low-Ki didn't want to do the job. So, but this is probably the best you'll get to see in a Samoa Joe Low-Ki rematch in Ring of Honor. And I thought it really delivered. It was a very stiff match. A really hard-hitting main event type of match. All right, the next show is At Our Best. This took place WrestleMania 20 weekend. This is kind of like the official first WrestleMania weekend from Ring of Honor. Highlights of the show was Jerry Lynn and Nigel had a match. It wasn't very good. Both guys, Jerry Lynn didn't look healthy to me, and Nigel was still learning, so that was okay. They just didn't have that great of chemistry at the time. The other great match in the show is AJ Styles versus CM Punk, as you can see on the cover. This is an excellent match. This is probably their best match they had in Ring of Honor. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was the referee. The match is very good. Technically a very good match. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and CM Punk, this is where their feud started, which is a very good feud, actually. All right, so next up was Samoa Joe versus Jay Briscoe for the ROH World Title in a steel cage match. A lot of you guys have probably seen this match on the Bloodstained Honor DVD. And yeah, definitely check this out. This is one of the most brutal matches in Ring of Honor history. Probably the most bloodiest match they ever had. It's probably really sick to watch. You really shouldn't eat anything if you're watching this, because Jay Briscoe gets busted open really bad. There's like chunks of blood just dripping from his head in the match. And Joe pulled off another awesome performance. It was a very dramatic cage match. Definitely check it out. One of the best matches of the year, in my opinion. The main event, it was okay. It was another scramble cage match. The Carnage Crew versus Special K. That was a pretty big feud in 2003, 2004. So that was kind of like the blow-off feud to that. The blow-off match to the Carnage Crew and Special K. All right, next up is Reborn Stage 1. Pretty good show. Not great. Took place in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a pretty good show as far as storylines go. There's really nothing to talk about on the undercard. The undercard is pretty decent, just not anything spectacular. Some of the most interesting stuff happened in the later part of the show. Matt Sydal and Delirious actually made their debuts on this show. They had an okay match. Both guys definitely improved a lot since then. The Briscoes faced the Havana Pitbulls. The debut of Rocky Romero and Ricky Reyes, non-title match. It was pretty good. It was pretty good for what it was. Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. This is the only match they had in Ring of Honor. It's a pretty good match. I wouldn't say it reached the 4-star level, maybe 3 3/4. Very solid. Danielson really stretched the shit out of CM Punk here. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was the guest referee, so this is another match that kind of prolonged the Steamboat Punk feud. Next match was Samoa Joe versus Homicide for the ROH World Title. The match was okay. It was pretty good for Joe and Homicide. This wasn't really an epic match. This is more about just setting up the feud and getting the feud started. Homicide was pissed off because he couldn't get the job done, so the lights went off. And then Homicide actually took a fireball and threw it at Joe's face. So this is where Homicide's heel turn fully went into effect. So yeah, Joe and Homicide had a big feud in 2004. This is where it started. Crazy stuff here. All right, the next show is very good. Reborn Stage 2. I thought it was an excellent show. Nigel McGuinness, Jimmy Rave, Rocky Romero, and Austin Aries had a 4-corner survival match that was excellent. This was like their coming out party. All 4 of these gentlemen played a big role in Ring of Honor as the years went on, and they all looked very impressive, especially Nigel. I thought Nigel looked super impressive, and this is actually Austin Aries' first official Ring of Honor show. So definitely check that out. Homicide and Bryan Danielson, this is the first match they ever had. This is a very good technical wrestling match. Not for everyone, though. It's not like... doesn't have a lot of intensity, but the psychology is really good. It made a lot of sense. They stuck to what worked, and it came off really well. A lot of people think this is the best Bryan Danielson Homicide match, which is saying a lot. Um, Samoa Joe and Matt Styker had an ROH world title match. Matt Styker, I think he's kind of boring. He's a great technical wrestler. He does a lot of good things in the ring, but he's one of those guys. He's not like Chris Benoit. Like, he's a great technical wrestler, but he's not the kind of guy where you want to watch him. And then the tag team title match is awesome. You had CM Punk and Colt Cabana challenging the Briscoes for the tag team titles. Excellent tag match. The Chicago crowd was going crazy for this match. Punk was really over here. He's really a heel, but he was a babyface here because this was the debut in Chicago. And the finish was great. CM Punk hit the Pepsi plunge to secure his team the win. The aftermath was great with the celebration and everything. So yeah, the Reborn shows are pretty good. This is the first weekend where I believe where they were without Robbie Feinstein. I believe the Feinstein scandal actually took place leading up to these shows. I'm running out of time, but this is the first edition of the 2004 shows, and I hope you enjoyed it.